reliably. Hopefully I spelled that right. And just think of packets like packages of data, small packages. So this ensures that packages or sorry, packets are sent and received not only reliably, that's a little tongue twister, but also in the proper order because you have packet 1, 2, 3. You don't want to get 2 first, or else your data isn't going to be correct. So another thing that it does is it also may break down these packets into smaller units because different protocols, remember whenever we talked about protocols, they want their packets in a very specific format. Well, some protocols actually require smaller packets than others. So whenever that's the case, this transport layer is going to break those down. So basically, it ensures that your data is not only delivered reliably, but in the right order. And whenever a protocol requires a smaller packet or smaller unit of data, then this is the layer right here that's responsible for that. Now let me go ahead and get a new color. Purple looks good. The next layer I want to talk about is the network layer. Let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I got 2 more, plenty of space. Now, the network layer is basically going to determine determine best route for data. Now, say that I wanted to, have a conversation with your computer, or I wanted to, have a session with your computer. Well, there are probably a million different ways for data to be sent from my computer to your computer. So what this network layer is going to do is it's going to determine the best, most reliable, and fastest route. Now, how does it do this? Well, it does this because on your packets, there is not only the address of where it came from, which would be my IP address, but also the IP address of your computer, where it's going. And it's a little more complicated than that. The IP address isn't the only, thing that we use. But basically, there's an address on the packet where it came from, which is my computer, and where it's going, and we'll say that's your computer. So what it does is it reads these address and it determines the fastest possible route. Now, of course, if you ever heard of routers, you probably have one in your home. These are involved in this layer right here. So remember that routers are involved in the network layer, and it determines the best route for your data by reading the address on, of course, the packet and determining, of course, the fastest, most reliable route to the destination computer. Alright, so the next layer is the data link layer. I actually don't like the name of this, but the data link layer is the layer, wow, that's terrible N, that your NICs are on, your network interface cards. Now, this layer is also responsible for checking for errors, so checking, alright, slash here, errors. Probably need to take a handwriting class too. So basically, if there's an error in your data, or maybe something got haywire somewhere along the line in these, what it's going to do is basically going to be like, all right, I can't send that, or we need to go ahead and reformat the data or do something again. So basically, what it's going to do is, again, just think of your network interface card as the main piece of hardware on your data link layer. Well, I don't want to say that because there are also switches, and we'll talk about switches and routers later on and the difference between all those. But basically, your network interface card and switches are the 2 most famous pieces of hardware on this layer, and it's responsible for checking for errors. And if there's an error in your data, maybe there's just any kind of error, then it's going to go ahead and send that data again. And that is another way that we ensure reliable transmission of data between one computer and the other computer. So again, if you say, I have a bad NIC or my NIC's broken, then you can be like, you know what? That means that there's a problem with your data link layer. Learn that crap on, programming tutorials on YouTube. And the last one I want to talk about is physical. Now, this is probably the easiest one to explain and understand. This is just physical medium like cable or fiber optics, or basically any medium. This is also, like radio waves and Wi-Fi and stuff, but it's easier to remember physical if you just, think of cable, like copper cable and fiber optic cable right now. Basically, any electric signals, that's probably a better way to put it, or the transmission of data is part of your physical layer in networking. And also, remember, we talked about topologies, how different networks are laid out. This is also an aspect of your physical layer in the OSI model. So that's basically a broad overview of the OSI model. Again, it starts with the one closest to the user experience and it goes all the way down to basically, till the electric signals are on either through the air or on copper cable. So again, the truth is you could talk about the OSI model for about, 3 hours and you won't even come close to covering everything. But this is probably the most basic overview that I can explain for not only what the entire model is, but also the different pieces of how data starts out and also how data ends up going from one computer to another. Basically, a very simplistic explanation of how two computers communicate. So in the next couple tutorials, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys first a basic example of a communication or conversation between two computers using this model, and then we're going to break these layers up and talk about them each in detail. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. By the way, before I forget, make sure to add me on Facebook. I got a Facebook now. A lot of people were yelling at me because I didn't have a Facebook. Guess what, guys? I got one now. So boom, roasted. See you there.